ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करभावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकम् हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन्। हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. യതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ Krishna Hare Jaya Krishna Hare. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the class. Okay, so today we are do a review of Dasakam 4, right? So Shubha Prasanna, if you're there, can you do one half of it of Dasakam 4? Shubha Patel ninga. Hello, Shubha, we can't hear you in case you're talking, but
Are you able to hear me now?
yeah.
Okay, good. I think I was trying to talk from my AirPod. I don't know what happened.
Okay, so you do one half, and let me just see if it's Shailaja on. Yeah, Shailaja, can you do the second half?
Not today, sir. I will do it next week.
Okay, then Harini, you are there, right? Okay, you can do the second half. Harini. I think you can do 7, 7. There are 14 stanzas in this. So.
Dasakam 4 illaya?
Dasakam 4, yeah.
Okay. I will need help, but
No, go ahead.
let me get it. Give me 1 minute. Sorry, I'm getting a little. Okay.
Like Harini can go first, Shubha, and then you can do the second half.
Sure.
Okay. Harini, why don't you go first?
Yeah. कल्यतां मम कुरुष्व तावतीं कल्यते भवदुपासनं यया स्पष्टमष्टविधयोगचर्यया पुष्टयाशु तव तुष्टिमाप्नुयाम् ब्रह्मचर्यदृढतादिभिर्यमैः आप्लवादिनियमैश्च पाविताः कुर्महे दृढममी सुखासनम् पङ्कजाद्यमपि वा भवत्पराः तारमन्तरनुचिन्त्य सन्ततं प्राणवायुमभियम्य निर्मलाः इन्द्रियाणि विषयादतापहृत्यास्महे भवदुपासनोन्मुखाः अस्फुटे वपुषिते प्रयत्नतो धारयेम दृषणां मुहुर्मुहुः तेन भक्तिरसमन्तरार्द्रताम् उद्वहेम भवदङ्घ्रिचिन्तकाः.
Harini, and the first line, I think I just heard a ir sound when it's not there. Dishanam. There is no ir there, okay? Maybe it was just a...
Dishanam muhurmuhuhu. Visfutayavabhedasundaram त्वद्वपुश्चिरशीलनावशात् अश्रमं मनसि चिन्तयामहे ध्यानयोगनिरता त्वदाश्रयाः.
The first line, first word, Visfuta Bhayava.
Okay, sorry. Visfuta Bhayava. Visfuta Bhayava Beda Sundaram. ध्यायतां सकलमूर्तिमीदृशीम् उन्मिषन् मधुरताहृतात्मनाम् सान्द्रमोदरसरूपमान्तरम् ब्रह्मरूपमयितेव भासते तत्समास्वदनरूपिणीं स्थितिम् त्वत्समाधिविश्वनायका आश्रितः पुनरतः परिच्युतौ आरभे महि च धारणादिकम्.
On the first line, after the comma, Twatsamadhimayi. Can you just say that again, that word?
Okay. Twatsamadhimayi Vishwanayaka.
Okay. Just do one more and then you can stop.
Okay. Ithamabhyasana nirbalola satvat paratma sukha kalpitotsavaha mukta bhakta kula maulitam gataha sanchare mashuka naradadivat.
I'll start the next one.
And you guys start, Shubha.
Tatsamadhi vijaya tuye पुनर्मोक्षरसिक कर्णमेव वा योगवस्य निलम्ब षाडरारहै रुन्दनैद्यज सूक्ष्मनासनैः लिङ्गते भपि सन्दयञ्चतो लीयत्विबर निराकराकः ऊर्ध्वलोक कुदिकीतमूर्ततः सातमेव करणैर्निर्त्यते.
And the first line, Santya Jannato. before the comma. Santya Jannato.
Santyajanato liyate dvipare nirakarakaha urdvaloka khudukita murtataha sadameva karanainar niryate Agnivasara Valakshrapakshaha
Pakshagaihi.
Pakshakaihi, sorry, Agnivasara Valakshrapaksha Uddaranaya Shuvasadavataiha Prapirotara Vipadam Pavatparo Modavantruva Bhadanadam iyathe.
The first line end mattum last word is Jushacha Daivataihi. Uttarayana Jushacha Daivataihi.
Uttarana in the first line, yeah?
And Uttarayana
Uttarayana Jushas Daivataihi.
Daivataihi.
Okay. Okay. Asyatota Maharalayat Yatha Sheshavaktara Tahano Shnamanata Yata Yate Bhavattu Basrayasyata Tata Vedasa Padamada Pura Vaibhava.
And the first line again, second half, Sheshavaktra Tahanosh Manardhyate.
Tahanoshmanardhyate Tatrava Padeta Vasan Prakruta Pralayayeti Muktatam Swechachaya Khalu Purapi Muthyate Sambipatyas Jagatanda Tandamam Ojasa
Sambibidya. Sambibidya.
Sambibidya Jagadandam Ojasa Tasyata Dakshataksha Tipi Papayo Mahonila Yogamaksha Prakarutri Sambhavaka Sabatkavrithi
Prakriti Saptakavritihi.
Prakriti Saptakavritihi Tattata Tamatattataya Visansuhi Yati te Padamana Vritta Vibho Archirati Khadim Itas Risim Vrajanha Vichutimna Ajate Jagat Pate Satchitatma Bhavat Khunodayan Ucharanda Anisasa Pahimam.
And the last line, Shubha, Sachidatmaka Bhavat Gunodayan.
Sachitatma Bhavat Gunodayan.
Ucharantam Anilesha Pahimam.
Ucharandam Anisesha Pahimam.
Last sound, Anilesha Pahimam.
Ucharandam Anilesha Pahimam.
Right. So we'll continue with 5. I think we had done up to stanza 5, but I have to say the meaning of 5 and then we'll continue. So let me see, I think for the first half, Minu, can you be student, and Lalita, you are on, right? I think last time you got disconnected. So, okay. Right. So the stanza 5, we kind of, did the breakup, we said it, but I had not explained the meaning. So just to kind of set the context of what is happening right now. So, like I said, this is first talking about how the general cosmos evolved, which is different from creation. So you cannot mix these two, because creation is going to come only later. Because before even Brahma comes, there should be something for Brahma to start creating, right? He needs to have the basic elements. So this cosmos creation is the creation of the basic material nature which Brahma can then use to create. So that creation has to be is little separate from this, right? So in this, the first we said that at the beginning there was nothingness. However, they said there's nothing called nothingness. It's all has to be there in some subtle form. And then when the appropriate time comes, then the process starts, right? That's kind of where we saw. And the first thing that kind of, what was initially the Prakriti, which we said is the material nature of stuff, which was initially we said was unmanifested. It was like a seed which had the potential to create stuff, but nothing had formed. And then also it was undifferentiated. It was like a block of clay was the example we used, right? Saying it has a capability, but nothing was there. So from that, the first was the concept of Mahat, which was a universal consciousness, right? That was the first thing that kind of came about. So the simple example to think about this universal consciousness is think of the ocean, and I'll tell you why that is relevant when we go to the next one. So first that Mahat was there, which was the universal consciousness. So in stanza 5, the next step of it is coming, which is the concept of ahankara. Now, ahankara is essentially, very simply put, is the concept of I, right? So first, when this entire Mahat was there, then everybody is like one. So when in any conversation, people say universal consciousness, when they say that is referring to the Mahat, which just means that there's no separation. There is no you, I, none of that concept. It's just one consciousness, which is the Supreme Bhagavan's consciousness, which everybody is a part of, which is like a big ocean. But then, if that alone is there, nothing else can progress forward. So what happens is the next step in the process is the creation of that individuality, which comes the concept of individuality. And what that concept of individuality is required is so that you take a drop of water from that ocean. The drop of water which comes from the ocean thinks that, or you don't have to take the drop, you just pick the ocean is there. Ocean is made up of several drops of water, millions and millions and billions or trillions of drops of water. You don't have to pick one from there, but you have a drop of water in the ocean. That drop of water in the ocean has a concept that it is unique. But at the end of the day, it is not unique, right? It is part of the ocean. But it has a sense of feeling that it is unique. So that sense of feeling gives that drop of water an individuality of itself. So very simply said, that's what they say, how we all are thinking of ourselves. We all think we are unique. We all think we have attributes which are unique, and more things are going to come to make us feel more and more that we are unique. But at the end of the day, we are all like a drop in an ocean of the supreme consciousness. So the one which is giving the ability for anyone in this universe to think they are different is that concept of ahankara, which is the next concept which is actually coming up in the process of creation. That is the second one which they're talking in stanza 5. So now we'll go to stanza 6. सोऽहं च त्रिगुणक्रमात् त्रिविधताम् आसाध्य वैकारिको भूयस्तैजसतामसाविति भवन् आद्येन सत्त्वात्मना देवानिन्द्रियमानिनो कृत दिशा वातार्कपाश्यश्विनो वह्नीन्द्राच्युतमित्रकान् विदुविदि श्रीरुद्रशारीरकान्. So now we have the supreme consciousness. Now we have the concept of individuality. So the next, this concept of individuality then starts creating another layers, right? So these are all not physical layers. So these are all, you have to think of it as conceptual layers, right? So the first one which comes in this is the ability to think. Because this I or the ahankara has come. Now, because it has a concept of individuality, it should have the ability to think on its own. Everything in this world or universe has the ability to think on its own, right? So the concept of ability to think of its own was the first one which actually is coming out on this. And then, like we said, even when we saw the Ashtanga Yoga, we saw even when the soul is departing, it has to have the Sukshma Shariram with it. That Sukshma Shariram in it has the Indriyangal, the Jnana, ability to think. It has all of these concepts which are now going to get formed, right? And I was telling you that when the creation is following, the sequence it follows, when the soul is eventually leaving, it has to kind of go through those layers to shed each of these layers off. So the next one is the ability for the Jnanendriyangal, which we're going to talk about, the organs of knowledge, which is hearing, touch, and all of that, and Karmendriyangal, all of that, the ability for them all to function. That concept is coming out, because otherwise you will not have you will not be able to do anything in this world, but the actual Indriyas will come in the next stanza. But this is the concept of this, the owners of these are coming up. And then comes the chit, which is the memory. So you have the mind and then you have the memory, so you can retain all of these things, right? So all these basic fundamental concepts are beginning to exist so that creation can proceed later on. Soham cha triguna kramat, comma, Trividhatam asadya. You can break it that ma if you want. Trividhatam asadya vaikariko, comma, bhuyas taijasa tamasaviti bhavan. You'll have a in and a na there, two different, but we'll break at that in. Bhavan, comma. Next word will become a because we broke that. Adhyena sattvatmana. Soham cha trigunakramat trividhatam asadhya vaikariko bhuyastaijasatamasaviti bhavan adhyena sattvatmana.
सोऽहं च त्रिगुणाक्रमाद् त्रिविधताम् आसाद्य वैकारिको भूयस्तैजसतामसाविधि भवन् आद्येन सत्त्वात्मना सोऽहं च त्रिगुणक्रमात् त्रिविधताम् आसाद्य वैकारिको भूयस्तैजसतामसाविधि भवन् आद्येन सत्त्वात्मना.
सोऽहं च त्रिगुणक्रमात् त्रिविधताम् आसाद्य वैकारिको भूयस्तैजसतामसा विधि भवन् आद्येन सत्त्वात्मना सोऽहं च त्रिगुणक्रमात् त्रिविधताम् आसाद्य वैकारिको भूयस्तैजसतामसा विधि भवन् आद्येन सत्त्वात्मना.
Devan Indriya Manino Krita, comma. So you can break it at first na if you want. Devan Indriya Manino Krita, comma. Disha Vatarka Pashyashvino, comma. Vannindrachuta Mitrakan Vidhu Vidhi Sri Rudra Shariraka. And some of these things just go along with me even if you don't understand, because at the end of this Dashakam, when the entire process is done, then I'll be able to summarize, so you'll be able to see how all of these are adding on to each other. So here this, what do you call, the Indriyangal which are getting formed, so they all need to have somebody who can govern. So the governing principles of these are being laid out. So later on, each of them will have an owner, which is Rudra will own one, Brahma will own one, and the Varuna will own one, and the Ashwini Devas. Each of them will own one of these Indriyangal, but that concept itself is just first that gets formed. Devan Indriyamani no krita Disha Vatarka Pashyashvino Vanhindra Chutamitrakan Viduvidhi Sri Rudra Shariraka'n.
देवानीन्द्रियमानिनो कृतदिशा वादार्क आशश्वितो वह्नीन्द्रियाश्रितमित्रकान् विदुविदि श्रीरुद्रशारीरकान्.
Lalita, on the third line after that krita, there is a pause, okay? It's a comma there.
देवानीन्द्रियमानिनो कृत दिशा वादार्कपाशश्विनो वह्नीन्द्राश्रितमित्रकान् विदुविदि श्रीरुद्रशारीरकान्.
देवानिन्द्रियमानिनो कृत दिशावादार्कपाश्यश्विनो वह्नीन्द्राच्युतमित्रकान् विदुविदि श्रीरुद्रशारीरकान्. देवानिन्द्रियमानिनो कृत दिशावादार्कपाश्यश्विनो वह्नीन्द्राच्युतमित्रकान् विदुविदि श्रीरुद्रशारीरकान्.
Stanza 7. भूमन्मानसबुद्ध्यहङ्कृतिमिलच्चित्ताख्यवृत्त्यन्मितं तच्चान्तःकरणं विभो तव बलात् सत्त्वांश एवासृजत् जातस्तैजसतो दशेन्द्रियगणः तत्तामसांशात् पुनः तन्मात्रं नभसो मरुत्पुरपते शब्दो जनित्वद्बलात्. So here the most important thing, which I'll kind of, it will start becoming very obvious why we are even caring about all of these things, right? Is to realize that there is some power behind it which has to bring a structure to this, right? And that here, Bhattacharya is also saying is Tava Balad. It's because of your strength, because of your power, because of your energy that all these things are getting created in a very structural manner. So the first we saw this the ahankara I and the creation, and then we saw the manas and the chit getting formed, or the concept of that getting layers of that getting formed. The next one which comes is the indriyangal. So there are 10 indriyangals. One is the 5, which is the jnanendriyangal, which are senses which help gather knowledge. So which is like eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. So these are the 5 senses that we have. And then there are the 5 karmendriyangal, which are senses of action. So which is like, grasping, ability to grasp, which is the hand, walking, which is the feet, and then speech, right? And then the reproduction and excretion. So those are the 5 karmendriyangals. So the 5 jnanendriyangals and the 5 karmendriyangals, layers, not body parts, right? And then there's the 5 organs of action. So the reason this is important is because if you remember again in the 4th Dasakam, when the Stula Shariram is going back after it has exited your body, it still has the ability to see, it still has the ability to hear, it still has the ability to do things. So these are this. So although it doesn't have a physical body like how I'm having right now, it still has a sukshma body which has the capability to do all these things. So that is what these capabilities are getting formed, is ability for something or somebody to be able to see. Right? Those indriyangals are all getting formed. That's the next layer which is happening here. And then in the very end, it says, then the concept of sound is born. And that I'll continue. I'll explain it in the next chapter stanza as to how that scales on. So, Bhuman Manasa Buddhyahankriti. It's Buddhi and Ahankriti, 2 words mixed together. So, Buddhyahankriti, Milach, Chittakya, Vrityanvitam. Then a comma. So, that line is continuous. Tachantaha, put a tachantah, karanam vibho tava balat, comma, satvamsha eva srijat. Bhuman manasa buddhyahankriti mila chittakya vrityanvitam, tachantah karanam vibho tava balat, satvamsha eva srijat.
भूमन्मानसबुद्ध्यहङ्कृतिमिलच्चित्ताख्यवृत्त्यन्वितं तच्चान्तःकरणं विभो तव बलात् सत्त्वांशेवासृजत् भूमन्मानसबुद्ध्यहङ्कृतिमिलच्चित्ताख्यवृत्त्यन्वितं तच्चान्तःकरणं विभो तव बलात् सत्त्वांशेवासृजत्
भूमन्मानसबुद्ध्यहङ्कृतिमिलच्छिद्धाख्यवृत्त्यन्वितं तच्चान्तःकरणं विभो तव बलात् सत्त्वांश एवासृजत् भूमन्मानसबुद्ध्यहङ्कृतिमिलच्छिद्धाख्यवृत्त्यन्वितं तच्चान्तःकरणं विभो तव बलात् सत्त्वांश एवासृजत्
Jatas Thaijasato Dashendriya Ganaha, so that is, you put a visarga and comma, Ganaha, Tattama Samshat Punaha, again visarga and a comma at the end of that line, Punaha. Next line, if you have a is or a s, that goes away. Tanmatram Nabhaso Marut Purapate, comma, Shabdojani Twadbalat. Jatastaijasато dashendriya ganaha tattamasamshat punaha tanmatram nabhaso marut purapate shabdo janitvad
जातस्तैजसतो तशेन्द्रियगणः तत्तामसांशात् पुनः तन्मात्रं नभसो मरुत्पुरपते शब्दो जनित्वत्बलात् जातस्तैजसतो दशेन्द्रियगणः तत्तामसांशात् पुनः तन्मात्रं नभसो मरुत्पुरपते शब्दो जनित्वत्बलात्
जातस्तैजसतो दशेन्द्रियगणः तत्तामसांशात् पुनः तन्मात्रं नभसो मरुत्पुरपते शब्दो जनित्वत्बलात् जातस्तैजसतो दशेन्द्रियगणः तत्तामसांशात् पुनः तन्मात्रं नभसो मरुत्पुरपते शब्दो जनित्वत्पलात्.
That's it. Shabdhat vyoma tatah sasarjita vibho sparsham tato marutam tasmadrupamato mahotacharasam toyam cha gandham mahim evam madava purva purva kalanat adhyadhya dharmanvitam bhutagramamimam tvameva bhagavan prakashayastamasat. So next two important things are getting, or the creation of that is happening. One of them is the Panchabhutas, because without the Panchabhutas, earth, fire, air, water, ether, none of us can exist because we are not made of those fundamental 5 elements. So the 5 elements are there. You cannot keep them in one bucket. Then there are the 5 what are called as the Tanmatras. Tanmatras are the senses of sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, which are associated with the Panchabhutas. So here, the way it is explained is, it all builds on each other. These two have a very tight relationship between each other. Tanmatra, which is the senses, the experiences of this, along with the Panchabhutas are connected. I'll tell you how. So the first, like I said earlier, the concept of subtle element of sound is formed. That is the first one that is getting formed. Now, from sound, it says Akasha or space, the first Panchabhuta happens, because space only has sound. It doesn't have any of the other characteristics. It only has sound. So first from the sound, the space Panchabhuta is happening. From space, the next Tanmatra of Sparsham is happening, which is the concept of touch. So now you have sound and you have touch. The next Panchabhuta which is formed as a result of this is the air Panchabhuta, Vayu, because air you can touch, you can hear. When there's a heavy wind going on, you can hear air. So that is the second Panchabhuta which is getting formed. Then comes Rupam, which is the form. The Panchabhuta which comes after that, after air, is Agni, fire. Because Agni, when it's blazing, you can hear it. It has a concept of sound. You can touch it and you can feel Agni. And when you have a Homagundam, you can see the form of Agni. So you can see the shape of it. So it is the third Panchabhuta which is getting formed. Then the next element which comes is the concept of Rasam, the concept of taste. So Panchabhuta which comes after that is water, Jalam, the fourth Panchabhuta. Again, if you kind of go through that, when water is falling, you can hear water, right? You can touch and feel water. When there's water dripping from a waterfall or your faucet, you can see the shape of water. And of course, you can taste water. Now, you can also taste, Narayaneeyam later on, Bhattaripadi is going to say, Agni does not have the concept of taste, but Krishna, you proved it wrong. Because Dahano, Agni, Krishna later on will consume a forest fire. So Bhattaripadi will say that concept no longer exists anymore, Krishna, because you've broken that flow of these events. But anyway, for a normal thing, the Agni, the next one is water, which has this. And the last one which comes is the Gandham, the smell. Right? And then the Panchabhutam which comes from there is earth, because earth will have all of these characteristics, which is there. So that is how this concept of the Panchabhutas, each of them builds incrementally on each of those things. And that is the overall, everything we saw right from Mahat, from Prakriti to Mahat, to Ahankaram, to Manas, to Chit, to the Jnanendriyangal, Karmendriyangal, and then this Tanmatra, Panchabhuta, it all builds on each other for a reason, right? Which we'll see at the very end. So, Shabdhat Vyoma, Tataha, putta is Tatas Sasarjita Vibho Sparsham Tato Marutam, Tasmat Rupamato Mahotacha Rasam, Toyam Cha Gandham Mahim. Shabdhat Vyoma Tatasasarjita Vibho Sparsham Tato Marutam Tasmadrupamato Mahotacharasam Toyam Cha Gandham Mahim.
Shabdadyo matad sajarjita vibho sparsham tato marutam tasmadrupamato mahotacharasam toyam jagandam mahim.
That is on the first line, after Shabdat Vyoma, there is a comma.
Okay. Shabdat vyoma tad sajarjita vibho sparsham tato marutam tasmadrupamato mahotacharasam तोयं च गन्धं मही
शब्दाद् व्योम दतससर्जित विभो स्पर्शं दतो मारुतं तस्मात् रूपमतो महोद च रसं तोयं च गन्धं महीम्
the first thing like tatas sasarjita.
ततः ससर्जित
Yeah.
शब्दाद् व्योम ततः ससर्जित विभो स्पर्शं ततो मारुतं तस्मात् रूपमतो महोद च रसं तोयं च गन्धं महीम्
Evam Madhava Purva Kalanath. You'll have a da there. We're going to break it so you can say it easily. It's a Kalanath, put a it. Kalanath, comma. The next word will start with the a. Adhyadhya dharmanvitam, comma. Bhuta gramamimam tvameva bhagavan, comma. Prakashayas tamasat. एवं माधव पूर्व कलनात् आध्याद्य धर्मान्वितं भूतग्राममिमं त्वमेव भगवन् प्राकाशयस्तामसात्
एवं माधव पूर्वकलनात् आद्याद्यधर्मान्वितं भूतग्राममिमं त्वमेव भगवन् प्राकाशयस्तामसात् एवं माधव पूर्वकलनात् आद्याद्यधर्मान्वितं भूतग्राममिमं त्वमेव भगवन् प्राकाशयस्तामसात्
एवं माधव पूर्वकलनादात् आयाद्य धर्मान्वितं भूतग्राममिमं त्वमेव भगवन् प्राकाशयस्तामसात् एवं माधव पूर्वकलनादात् आयाद्य धर्मान्वितं भूतग्राममिमं त्वमेव भगवन् प्राकाशयस्तामसात्
the third line la purva kalanath. So that first da that is coming is what we are breaking. I think you're doing the next one. So purva kalanath, comma, adhyadhya. So two dhya sounds will come later.
Oh, for in my book it says purva kalanadat.
But adukapram it has the ya, it will have yadhya, right?
Ayadhya.
Okay, it's not making sense. So it should be purva kalanath it.
And the ta edutudnuma, there's no ta there.
There will be a da there, ideally. The da will become a it and a a. So purva kalanath and then put a comma. Then it becomes adhyadhya, which means building on each other.
Oh, okay. I get what you mean. Okay. Purva kalanath ayadhya.
Adhyadhya.
Oh, adhyadhya. Apdi varudha. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I split it wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Purva kalanath adhyadhya.
Correct. That's it.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stanza 9. Ete bhutaganastatendriyaganaha devascha jata pritang noshe kurbhuvananda nirmiti vidhau devairamibhistada tvam nanha vida suktibhirnuta gunaha tattvanya vishanye cheshta shakti mudiryatani ghatayan hairanyamandham vyadhaha. So all this time we were talking conceptual things because all of these things, right? We have to kind of think beyond what we can imagine because you cannot imagine the what do you call the concept of I. You cannot see it, right? You cannot visualize. It's all you have to be something you have to imagine only. Now the little bit of that formation is going to come. So I'm going to introduce a few names here, right, of Mahavishnu because we say Vishnu. There are multiple energies of Vishnus which create different functions, which is the first incarnation, like I was telling you earlier. So first they say is name. It's just a name, right? It can be any name, but it's the name that is given is called as Karanodhakasai, which is Karana Udhakasai. It's Karanodhakasai Vishnu. That's the one Vishnu which is there, who is there. Now that Vishnu is, it says that is the first avatar. So this first avataram is going to have 1A, 1B, 1C sub avatarams inside of it. And generally speaking, avataram means descending onto earth, right? That is the actual definition of it. But then somebody has to be there even before somebody can descend to earth, right? So that is this first. So this Karana Udakashayi Vishnu, the way to think of it as this Karana Udaka is in between. There is a spiritual world and then there is a material world. And we'll see what this material world is. And later on in Vedam, it will say, and it will also come in Narayaneeyam, this entire material world, which we're going to talk about later, is only 1/4 of the energy which exists. The 3/4 of the energy still is the spiritual world, which is there. So this Karanodakasai Vishnu, who's there, who's the kind of separation between the material world and the physical world. From this Karanodakasai Vishnu, multiple universes keep coming. And we'll see what an universe is, the definition of that little later, or maybe it'll come in this. Multiple universes start getting created. And this Karanodakasai Vishnu is the one who, when we saw the word Ikshana, when the time is right, when this Karanodakasai Vishnu decides, this Prakriti, which is everything which is in the material world, starts getting disturbed, which we saw in the very beginning. So this Karanodakashayi Vishnu is the first, I use the word person, but it's not a person, who impacts the disturbances of the Prakriti. First step, right, on this. So once this Karanodakashayi Vishnu, then from this is the Prakriti, then the Mahat, Tattva, all of that stuff comes, right? So there are multiple such universes which are there, right? Each of that universe is actually on its own. But right now, all the ingredients which we saw, which were actually getting formed, then exists in what is called as a Hiranyandam, Hiranya Andam, which is called as a golden egg. So this golden egg is think of it as the egg, like what comes from an egg, some chicken or some other bird might come from an egg, right? Which is kind of the seed to some extent. So from this egg, the Hiranyandam is where the entire universe is going to be born. But there are so many such Hiranyandam. Okay, so that is the first creation. That's why it says Hiranyamandam Vyadaha. So that first Hiranyandam is getting formed with all of these things, and there are several such Hiranyandam. So the first incarnation, 1A incarnation, is Karanodakashayi Vishnu, who's always there, into whom everything anyway already goes. He or I use the word he again, disturbs the Prakriti, because of which all of this creation all this cosmos begins to evolve. So that is the step 1A. Now, the word Brahmandam is going to be used later. Brahmandam is this Hiranyandam, which is fully formed, because right now, there's nothing there. You only have the ingredients still. You haven't seen any of the layers of the world getting created. Once that gets created, this entire thing is going to be called as Brahmandam. Right now, it is called as Hiranyandam because it is the seed of the Brahmandam itself. So, Ete, actually, something more also happens here. So now, once this is there, then what it says is these ingredients are there, but nothing is happening. The worlds are not yet formed. So a portion of this Vishnu's energy enters into each of the Hiranyandam. So there are multiples of universes. It enters into each of these Hiranyandam and then starts the process of creation of the 14 layers of the worlds. So here, when we say the 14 layers of the worlds, it doesn't mean 14 planets or 14. It says there are 14 layers which are going to be created, each of which is multiple planetary systems. So when we saw in Dasakam 4, when the soul was exiting, I explained something to you where it says in Satyalokam it can go reside, wait with Brahma. I gave the example of the Frankfurt airport and said if it wants, it can take a private jet and go away. And I said at that point, it can pierce through the Brahmandam and go on its own, right? Which essentially, if you now think of multiple such Brahmandams, universes, we are a small portion of the Earth which resides in one Brahmandam, which has got multiple billions of planets. The soul has to go exit that entire Brahmandam, and there are many such Brahmandams, and then it goes and merges into Vaikuntham. So that Vaikuntham which exists is outside of all of this Brahmandam. And multiple of these universes form only 1/4 of the spiritual energy of the Supreme Mahavishnu. The 3/4 of it is still sitting in the spiritual world. So now, if you kind of recollect everything we discussed, now when the soul is exiting, it is having that sukshma shariram, which still has the ability to think, which has the ability, it has all of the sensory perceptions, doesn't have this body. When it is going through, finally, when it's exiting Brahmandam, you think of virtual layers, which it has to start shedding, right? And finally, it will shed the ahankara, because at that point, it has realized I'm one. And then it will finally go merge with the Supreme Soul, with Supreme Consciousness, which is the Mahat, right? And so it will continue to exist in that. So that is kind of everything I said, you kind of reverse back. That is how the exit happens, right? Anyway, very complicated, but I'm kind of keeping it very, very simple and saying, but the end of the day, the whole purpose of learning this is only one thing, which is how even Shukha Brahmam tells Parikshit, is the Bhagavan about whom I'm going to tell you later is the creator of all of these things. So without that Bhagavan, without his energy, none of this would all cease to exist. So that is the whole takeaway from all of this. So it says here, you, with your energy, you then enter into each Brahmandam, and that Vishnu who enters into each Brahmandam is called as a Garbhodaka Shayi Vishnu. So that Vishnu then lies at the bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean of each Brahmandam, and from whose Nabhi Brahma is going to come much later, which we'll see. Okay, so that is the second Vishnu, which is 1B avataram that is there. So ete bhuta ganas tatendriya ganaha. Put a visarga there, you won't have it. Add a visarga and a comma. Devascha jataha. Put a F, jatah. Pritang, ing sound, pritang. And then put a plus at the end of that line. No shekur bhuvananda nirmiti vidhau, comma, devairami bhistada. Yethe bhutaganastatendriya ganaha devascha jata pratang no shekur bhuvananda nirmiti vidhau devairami bhistada.
Ekur Bhavananda Nirmiti.
Good, Lutaya.
ये ते भूतगणाः सदेन्द्रियगणाः देवाश जाथा प्रदन् नो चेकुर्भुवनाण्डनिर्मितिविदो देवैरमीभिस्तदा ये ते भूतगणाः सदेन्द्रियगणाः देवाश जाथा प्रदन् नो चेकुर्भुवनाण्डनिर्मितिविदो தேவைரமீபிஸ்ததா. அந்த எனக்கு ஒரு டவுட், அந்த ஜாத்தாக அது இங்க பிரதக்னு இருக்கு, அது எப்படி சொல்லணும் கொஞ்சம்
அது
சொல்லுங்க.
வந்து see, the word is pratak, okay, ik sound, okay, but because the word na is coming later and we're saying it together, it'll take an ing sound, okay, so it'll like jata pratang ing,
Okay.
pratang no shekur,
Okay, thanks.
okay, but if you're saying, if you're stopping there, it'll keep the word ka, k, that's what remains there.
And one more question, and the last but one word, and the suktibir nuta gunaha. Sorry, I think I went somewhere. Nirmida vidau or nirmidi vidau?
Some books have nirmita, just change it to nirmiti vidau.
Oh,
okay, some books have nirmita vidau.
Yeah, for me it says
Yeah.
nirmita. Okay, nirmiti. Okay. एते भूतगणास्ततेन्द्रियगणाः देवाश्च जाताः भृतं नो शेकुर्भुवनाण्डनिर्मितिविदौ देवैरमीभिस्तदा. एते भूतगणास्ततेन्द्रियगणाः देवाश्च जाताः भृतं नो शेकुर्भुवनाण्डनिर्मितिविदौ देवैरमीभिस्तदा.
The B, I feel like you're stretching it, Minu. Devairami bistada. Short.
Bistada. Okay.
Tvam nanavida sukthibhir nuta gunaha. Put a visarga comma instead of the is nuta gunaha. Tatvanya munya. That word you cannot break it, unfortunately. Tatvanya munya bishan. Put a in at the end of that line, comma. Munya bishan, comma. Next time you'll have a ish. Some books will have a ish. You remove that. Cheshta shakti mudirya tani ghatayen, comma. Hairanyam Andam. You can either say Hairanyam Andam as one word or Hairanyam Andam Vyadaha. Tvam Nanhavida Suktibhirnuta Gunaha Tatvanyamhunya Vishanne Cheshta Shakti Mudiryata Nighatayan Hairanyamandam Vyadaha.
त्वं नानाविधसूक्तिभिर्नुदगुणः तत्त्वान्यमून्याविशन् चेष्टाशक्तिमुदीर्य तानि कडयन् हैरण्यमण्डं व्यदाः त्वं नानाविधसूक्तिभिर्नुदगुणः तद्वान्यमून्याविशन् चेष्टाशक्तिमुदीर्य तानि कडयन् हैरण्यम् अण्डं व्यदाः
त्वं नानाविधशुक्तिभिर्नुतगुणः तद्वान्यमून्याविशन् चेष्टाशक्तिमुदीर्यदानि कडयन् हैरण्यमण्डं व्यदाः त्वं नानाविधशुक्तिभिर्नुतगुणः तद्वान्यमून्याविशन् चेष्टा
First Cheshta.
okay. चेष्टा शक्तिमुदीर्यदानि कडयन् हैरण्यमण्डं व्यदाः.
Okay, stanza 10. I think we'll just switch because of the time is right. So Priya Narayanan, you can be student, and Padmaja Mekundam, you can be student if you're on. Yeah. Padmaja. Okay. Padmaja, you're on, right? I can see you're on. Yeah. Okay, stanza 10. Andham tat khalu purva srishta salile tishtat sahasram samaha nirbhindanna kritas chatur dasha jagat rupam viradahvayam sahasraih karapada murdhanivahaihi nishesha jivatmako nirbhatosi marutpuradhipasamam trayasva sarvamayat. So then, like we said, this Vishnu who is actually getting in, and then this Garbhodakashayi Vishnu who gets into each of these universes, because all of these are existing but nothing is happening. And then he says the 14 layers of the world are getting formed, and we'll see what those 14 layers are in the next Dashakam. But the other thing which they are introducing here is this concept of Virat. So this Virat means, so this you might have heard of Purusha Suktam. And for those of you who know the meaning of Purusha Suktam also, it goes and describes, it first starts off by saying Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha, Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. First it says this Purusha, like we said, 1A, 1B, who we saw, which is a Purusha, says this Purusha has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of feet. Now, that doesn't mean physically has thousands of head, eyes, and feet. By saying you have thousands of eyes, it means everything that is happening, this Purusha knows. It can see, knows what is happening. By saying you have thousands of feet, it means that it can be there everywhere. There's no place it cannot be, right? And Sahasra Shirshaha, head, means that what does head give you? It gives you knowledge. That's what it's referring to. It has all the knowledge that can be there. So that's what this concept of Virat Purusha is getting introduced here. And here, and what is happening is you, O Lord, as Virat Purusha, you went in and then you started forming, that energy is beginning to form the 14 layers of the world, 14 planetary worlds that is actually getting created, right? And then you then was there in that form, which is a representation of the 14 worlds. Because what essentially the Virat Purusha concept that is getting told here is, you imagine the 14 worlds inside that Brahmandam, inside that Hiranyandam egg. Now you put an image of this Purusha top to bottom inside that Andam. And then you see all the 14 worlds, everything that exists within that 14 worlds. And says all of that is just you in one form. That is the concept of the Virat Purusha, which we are going to see in the next Dashakam, right? With this Dashakam comes to an end, which says you now also, you yourself are going in with your energy, going and forming all these 14 words. Andam tat khalu, comma, purva srishta salile tishtat. You'll have two different words, salile and atishtat, but that S symbol is coming. So you say it together. Salile tishtat, sahasram samaha, comma, Nirbhindan na kritash chatur dasha jagat rupam viradahvayam. That's one word, you cannot break it. Andham tat khalu purva srishta salile tishtat sahasram samaha nirbhindan na kritas chatur dasha jagat rupam viradahvayam.
Andam tat kalu purva srishta salile tishtat sahasram samaha nirbhindan nakritash chaturdasha jagat rupam viradahvayam. Andam tat kalu purva srishta salile tishtat sahasram samaha nirbhindan nakrat
Kritash.
chaturdasha jagat rupam viradavayam.
And Priya, the second line, first word, first portion, nirbhindan na kritash.
Kritash, okay. Nirbhindan nakritash chaturdasha jagat rupam viradavayam.
Andam tat khalu purvasrushta salile tishthat sahasram samaha nirbhandan nakruthas chaturdasha jagadrupam viradahvayam. Viradahvayam. Andam tat khalu purvasrushta salile tishtat sahasram samaha nirbhandan kruthas chaturdasha jagadrupam viradahvayam.
Sahasraihi, put a ich sound to
Rajesh,
join.
sorry to interrupt.
No.
Nirbandam or nirbinda?
Nirbhindan.
B dane? Okay.
B, yeah. Sahasraihi, visarga is there, put a ich to join. Sahasraih, kara, padha, murdha, nivahaihi. So after that nivahai, put a visarga and comma, nivahaihi. Then for those who are following Sanskrit, on top of that ni, there is a ir sound, r that goes away. Nishesha jivatmako, comma. Nirbhatosi, put a comma again there. Marutpuradhipa samam trayasva sarvamaya. So again, Pratibha is saying, oh, that Guru Vairappa, who's the one who went and created, as that Purusha, all of his 14 words, please eradicate all the ailments and diseases I have. Sahasraih karapada murdha nibahaihi nishesha jivatmako nirbhatosi marutpuradhipa samam trayasva sarvamayat.
Sahasraihi karapadamurdhanibahaihi nishesha jivatmako nirbhatosi marutpuradipasamam trayasva sarvamayat.
And Priya, the third line, la sahasraihi, that visarga is there, right? You put a H to join that sound. So sahasraih karapada.
Okay. Sahasraihi karapadamurdhanibahaihi nishesha jivatmako nirbhatosi marutpuradipasamam trayasva sarvamayat.
Sahasraih karapadamurdhanihvaihi nishesha jivatmako nirbhatosi marutpuradhivas samam trayasva sarvamayat.
That fourth and marutpuradhipa.
Yeah. Sahasraih karapadamurdhanihvaihi nishesha jivatmako nirbhatosi marutpuradhipas samam trayasva sarvamayat.
That the third line, murdha nivahaihi. I think you're switching it.
Okay.
Nivahaihi.
Murdhva nivahaihi.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Murdha nibahaihi.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
So, like, this 14 words which is there is also referred in some cases as 3 words because it's a combination of those 14 words. So the bottom 7 is referred to as 1 word. Then the Bhulokam, which is referred to as the middle one, which is the 8th. And then the top 6 are bundled as 1 word. So for those who know Vishnu Sahasranamam, there is one which will come. Antastam yasya vishwam suranarakhago bhogi gandharva daityaihi chitram ram ramyate tam tribhuvana vapusham Vishnu Misham Namami. He is essentially describing this Purusha. He's saying this Tribhuvana, these 3 worlds, which is the 14 worlds, you whose form has all the 14 worlds inside of you. To that Vishnu, my salutations. Right? It's essentially referring to this Purusha, which you're going to see in the next, the Virat Purusha, which we're going to see in the Dasakam 6. Which we'll get to. This is a relatively easy one. So this is Virat Dehasya Jagadatmatva Varnana, which is describing the form of the Virat Purusha. So coincidentally, right, this today, and I also teach Bhagavatam. So today in Bhagavatam, I'm teaching the same exact thing. However, that is coming after 900 stanzas. Here we are learning it after 50 stanzas. This is getting introduced. In Bhagavatam, it comes after 900 stanzas of learning things. Then this Virat Purusha forms come. But the purpose, the context of where it comes in Bhagavatam is, Shukra Brahman tells Parikshit, don't worry that you have only 7 days left. He says the best thing for someone to do when you are about to die is to, once you again let go all your senses and all these material attachments, etc., is to imagine this Virat form of the Lord. Imagine the form of the Lord from toe to head, with the 14 words embedded inside him, which is what this Dashakam is actually. And that's what it is going to talk. And even at the very end, Bhattaripad will say the same thing. He'll say, that's why, for those of you who know Purusha Suktam, we normally chant Purusha Suktam at the end of any puja, any homam you do, you chant Purusha Suktam. Because what Purusha Suktam does is it essentially describes how everything that exists in this world are a part of the Lord. You imagine the form of the Lord as every other part, every other world. That's what it is, right? That's how it's just imagination, right? Because it's very difficult for everybody, for humans to contextualize what all is there. But we can relate to a human body. So you give this Lord a human form with arms and legs and heads and eyes and all of those things. And then say how all these 14 worlds and everything that is there is one part of your body. That is this form, definition of the Virat Purusha form. So stanza 1.
இது பேர் என்ன இந்த தசகம் பேரு விராட் தேஹஸ்ய
Jagadatmatva. அது உங்களுக்கு I don't know what you have, but it's Jagat Atmatva Varnanam. So it is the entire cosmos as the form of the Lord.
ஜகதாத்மத்ஸ்வவா
Jagad Atmatva.
மஸ்துவ
Matva Varnanam.
மஸ்துவ
That's one. Evam Chaturdasha Jaganmayatam Gatasya Patalamesha Tava Padatalam Vadanti Padortvadeshamapi Deva Rasatalam Te Gulphat Vayam Khalu Mahatalam Adbhutatman. So that 14 kind of the words that we were describing previously, right? So here, it's those first, like I said, the bottom words are Athala, Vitala, and it'll all come here. Athala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, Pathala. 7 words. Then there is one world where earth is, which is just earth is given a separate layer for its own. So that's earth. And then there is 6 top layers, which when it goes up, Bhur, Bhuva, Suva, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satyaloka. So even when we talked about in the 4th Dashakam, it went through some of these things. If you remember it, I said it went to Maharalokam. It went to, then it will finally go to Satyalokam and all of that stuff. So those are all the planetary things on above. So here, when it starts the description of it, it first starts, you, Guru Appa, who took the form of the 14 worlds, and there's not much to explain here in meaning. I'm just going to say what is here. It says the lower portion of your feet is Patala, because that is the bottommost. The top of your feet is Rasathala, and the one which is just above your ankles is Mahathala. Like I said, it's just you have to imagine the form of the Lord with everything inside. That's all there is to this, right? So when you kind of go from the bottom, it's just those are the 3 worlds, and that's your bottom of your feet. So evam Chaturdasha Jagan Mayatam Gatasya, Pathalamisha Tava Padatalam Badanti Padordhva Deshamapi Deva Rasatalam Te, Gulpadvayam Kalu Mahatalam. You can break it that ma if you want. Mahatalam Adbhutatman. Evam Chaturdasha Jaganmayatam Gatasya Patadamisha Tava Padatalam Vadanti Padordvadeshamapi Deva Rasatalam Te Gulpadvayam Khalu Mahatalam Adbhutatman.
Evam Chaturdasha Jaganmayatam Gatasya Patalamisha Tava Padatalam Vadanti Padordvadeshamapi Deva Rasatalam Te Gulpadvayam Kalu Mahatalam Adbhutatman. Evam Chaturdasha Jaganmayatam Gatasya Patalamisha Tava Padatalam Vadanti Padordvadeshamapi Deva Rasatalam Te Gulpadvayam Kalu Mahatalam Adbhutatman.
Evam Chaturdasha Jaganmayatam Gatasya Patalamesha Tava Padatalam Vadanti Padordhvadeshamapi Devarasatalam Te Gulpadvayam Khalu Mahatalam Evam Chaturdasha Jaganmayatam Gatasya Patalamesha Tava Padatalam Vadanti Padordhvadeshamapi Devarasatalam Gulphodvayam Khalu Mahatalam Adbhutatman.
Janghe Talatamato Sutalam Chajanu Kinchoru Yugalam Vitala Taledhve Kshoni Talam Jaganamambharamanganabihi Vakshascha Shakranilayastava Chakrapane. Next, gonna go up, which is the portion from the knee to the ankle. That is Talatala. Your knees, Januni, is the knees are Sutala, Janunu Sutalam. And then you further go up, your thigh are the, Bithala and Athala, which are again the bottom planetary systems. Bithala and Athala are your two thighs. Your hip, which is the middle portion, is the earth. So Jaganam Ambhara Manga Nabhi, your Nabhi is the sky. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean only the 14 worlds are there. They'll talk about everything that exists in the 14 worlds also as a form of the Lord. So he says your Nabhi is the sky, which is there, and your chest is the Swargalokam, where Chakra, which is referring to Indra, where Indra resides. So Jange Tala Thalamato Sutalam Cha Janu, Kinchor Bhaga Yugalam Vitala Tale Dve Kshoni Talam Jaganam Ambharamanga. If you want to break it, that first ma, Jaganam Ambharamanga Nabihi. So put a visarga and comma there, Nabihi. Next line, first word, Vakshascha. There will be an ir or a r that goes away. Vakshascha Shakra Nilayas Tava Chakrapane. So the first one is Sha, S-H. Next is Cha, C-H. Okay. Jange Tala Talamato Sutalam Chajanu Kinchoru Bhaga Yugalam Vitala Tale Dve Kshoni Talam Jaganamambharamanganabihi Vakshascha Shakranilayastava Chakrapane. Priya mute irukil. Priya mute irukil.
Jange Talatamato Sutalam Chajanu Kinchorubaga Yugalam Vitala Tale Dve Kshoni Talam Jaganam Ambara Manganabihi वक्षश्च शक्रनिलयस्तव चक्रपाणे जङ्गे तलातलमतोऽसुतलं च जानु किञ्चोरुभागयुगलं वितलातले द्वे क्षोणीतलं जगनम् अम्बरमङ्गनाभिः वक्षश्च शक्रनिलयस्तव चक्रपाणे
जङ्घे तलातलमथो सुतलं च जानु किञ्चोरुभागयुगलं वितलातले द्वे क्षोणीतलं जघनमम्बरमङ्गनाभिः वक्षश्च वक्षश्च शक्रनिलयस्तव चक्रपाणे जङ्घे तलातलमाथो सुतलं च जानु किञ्चोरुभागयुगलं वितलातले द्वे क्षोणीतलं जघमम्बरमङ्गनाभिः वक्षश्च शक्रनिलयस्तव चक्रपाणे.
Stanza 3. Griva mahastava mukam cha janastapasthu phalam shirastava samastamayasya satyam evam jaganmayatano jagadashritairyapyanye nibhaddavapushe bhagavan namaste. So, Bhagavan namaste, salutations to that Lord. Who next, when you kind of go up, the neck is Griva. Grivam is the neck, is Maharloka. Your face is Janaloka. Then you go up, your forehead is Tapaloka. And then the Shiras, your head of yours, which is the Satyaloka also. So this way, you, who's again, we kind of covered through all the lokas here. So with this, your body from the bottom of your feet to the top are the 14 worlds which are there in that sequence, in that order. Griva mahastava mukam cha janas tapastu, comma, alam shirastava samastamayasya satyam evam jaganmayatano. So at the end of the line, you first put a plus. So you say the third and fourth line together. Jagadashritai rap. So you cannot quite, I don't know if anyone's book says Jagadashritai api and all that stuff, then let me know. I'll tell you how to fix it. But if you don't have that, you have to say the two lines together. So Jagadashritai yapyanyer. Okay, so up to that yanyer, you have to say it together. Jagadashritai rapyanyer nibhadda vapushe bhagavan namaste. Griva mahastava mukam cha janastapastu phalam shirastava samastamayasya satyam evam jaganmayatano jagadashritairyapyanyer nibhadda vapushe bhagavan namaste.
ग्रीवा महस्तव मुखं च जनस्तपस्तु हालं शिरस्तव समस्तमयस्य सत्यम् एवं जगन्मयतनो जगदाश्रितैर्पन्यैर्निबद्धवपुषे भगवन् नमस्ते. Correct?
I think on the second time, the second, I want to fix something on the second, the last two lines.
एवं जगन्मयतनो जगत् आश्रितैरप्यन्यैर् निबद्धवपुषे भगवन् नमस्ते.
Correct. You said it correctly, except that on the yenyer kapram there is no pause, but that's okay. Once you say it a few times, you'll get that.
Okay. ग्रीवा महस्तव मुखं च जनस्तपस्तु हालं शिरस्तव समस्तमयस्य सत्यम् एवं जगन्मयतनो जगदाश्रितैरप्यन्यैर्निबद्धवपुषे भगवन् नमस्ते.
ग्रीवा महस्तव मुखं च जनस्तपस्तु फालं तव समस्तमयस्य सत्यम् एवं जगन्मयतनो जगदाश्रितैरप्यन्यैर्निबद्धवपुषे भगवन्नमस्ते ग्रीवामहस्तव मुखं च जनस्तपस्तु फालं शिरस्तव नमस्तमयस्य सत्यम् समस्तमयस्य तस्यम् एवं जगन्मयतनो जगदाश्रितैरव्यनैर्निबद्धवपुषे भगवन्नमस्ते.
Again, that thing you can practice a few times. Jagadaashritairyapyanyairnibadha.
जगदाश्रितैर्प्यन्ये
Yeah, is nibadha, double dha coming there. Nibadha vapushe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Sense of 4. Twadbrahmarandra padamishwara vishwakandha chandamsi keshava ghanastava keshapashaha ullasi chilli yugalam druhinasya geham pakshma niratri divasau savita chanetre. Continues. Your Brahmarandra, which is the very top, which is the Vedas, which is where all the knowledge is there for you. Then, O Keshava, your hair are the clouds, the dark clouds which you see is your hair. Then your eyebrows are Druhinasya Geham. Druhina is referring to Brahma. So it's a place where Brahma also sits in your eyebrows. Then your eyelashes, so those are night and day, and your eyes are the sun. So in those who know Purusha Suktam, it will say Chaksho Suryo Ajayata, it will come. Your eyes are the sun. So Tvat Brahmarandra Padamishwara Vishwakanda, Chandamsi Keshava Ghanas Tava Kesha Pashaha Ullasi Chilli Yugalam Druhinasya Geham, Pakshmani Ratri Divasau Savita Cha Netre. Twadbrahmarandra Padamishwara Vishwakandha Chandamsi Keshava Ghanastava Kesha Pashaha Ullasi Chilli Yugalam Druhinasya Geham Pakshma Niratri Divasau Savita Cha Netre.
त्वद्ब्रह्मरन्ध्र पदमीश्वर विश्वकन्द चन्दांसि केशव गणास्तव केशपाशाः उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणस्य गेहं पक्ष्माणि रात्रिदिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे त्वद्ब्रह्मरन्ध्र पदमीश्वर विश्वकन्द चन्दांसि केशव गणास्तव केशपाशाः उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणस्य गेहं पक्ष्माणि रात्रिदिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे
पद्ब्रह्मरन्ध्रपदमीश्वर विश्वकन्द छन्दांसि केशव घनस्तव केशपाशाः उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणस्य गेहं पक्ष्माणि रात्रि दिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे त्वद्ब्रह्मरन्ध्रपदमीश्वर विश्वकन्द छन्दांसि केशव घनस्तव केशपाशाः उल्लासि चिल्लियुगलं द्रुहिणस्य गेहं पक्ष्माणि रात्रि दिवसौ सविता च नेत्रे.
निःशेष विश्वरचना च कटाक्ष मोक्षः कर्णौ दिशोष्वियुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोभत्रपे च भगवन्नधरोत्तरोष्टौ तारागणाश्च दशनाः शमनश्च दंष्ट्रा. Yes, your kataksha moksha, the one glance, the ikshna you do, that is what triggered the entire creation, right? So that's what the Purusha's glances. then your Karnau Tava Dishoshvi Yugalam. Your eyes are the various directions because sound travels. So it's ears, sorry. Ears are the various directions. Then the Ashwini Devatas are Tava Nasike Dve are your two nostrils. And then your stars, which are there, are your teeth because they're shining like the stars. So the teeth are your stars. And then the molars that you have is the Yama, god of death, is your molars. Don't ask me why, what is what. This is just the description of the Lord, which the Vedas have called it. Again, this is all coming from Rig Veda directly. All of these definitions here. So, Nishesha Vishwa Rachana Cha Kataksha Moksha, comma, Karnau Dishoshvi Yugalam. You kind of say it together. Dishoshvi Yugalam Tava Nasike Dve Lobhatrape Cha Bhagavanna, so double na, Bhagavanna Dharotta Roshtau, comma, Tara Ganashcha Dashanaha. Is there put a ish to join? Dashanash Shamanascha Damshtra. Nishesha Vishwarachana Cha Kataksha Moksha Karnau Dishoshvi Yugalam Tavanasike Dve Lobhatrape cha Bhagavanna Dharottaroštau Tara Ganascha Dashana Shamanascha Damshtra.
ராஜேஷ் ஜி எனக்கு வந்து தஷனான்னு கொடுக்கல ரதனான்னு கொடுத்துருக்கு.
Okay, can you change it to Dashana? The last line, dane? Last line you're saying?
Yeah, கணாஷ்ச தஷனாவா?
Dashanaha is there. Then you put a ish to join. So Dashanash.
Okay.
निःशेष विश्वरचना च कटाक्ष मोक्षः कर्णौ दिशोष्वियुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोभत्रपे च भगवन्न रोष्ठौ तारागणाश्च दशनः शमनश्च दंष्ट्रा.
The last line, Priya. Dashanash A sound, okay?
दशनाः शमनश्च दंष्ट्रा. निःशेष विश्वरचना च कटाक्ष मोक्षः कर्णौ दिशोष्वियुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोभत्रपे च भगवन्न धरोत्तरोष्ठौ तारागणाश्च दशनाशमनश्च दंष्ट्रा.
निःशेष विश्वरचना च कटाक्ष मोक्षः कर्णौ दिशौ श्रीयुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोभत्रपे च भगवन्नधरोत्तरोष्ठौ तारागणाश्च दशनाशमनश्च दंष्ट्रा. निःशेष विश्वरचना च कटाक्ष मोक्षः कर्णौ दिशोष्वियुगलं तव नासिके द्वे लोभत्रपे च भगवन्नधरोत्तरोष्ठौ तारागणाश्च दशनाशमनश्च दंष्ट्रा.
Stanza 6. Maya vilasahasitam shwasitam samiro jihva jalam vachanamisha shakunta panktihi siddhadaya swaragana mukarandramagnihi deva bhujastana yugam tava dharma devaha. This is your smile, vilasahasitam. Your smile is like the breath, and the smile and your breath is like the wind. The water is your jalam, is your tongue. So jihva jalam, the tongue is the water. And then, the voice and your speech and everything are the siddhas and all the other artists who are there is your voice that is there. And then mukam api dahano, that's like again, this is your mouth is the fire. And this comes in Sahasranamam in all those other places. Mukarandram agnihi, there in Sahasranam, which is mukam api dahano, which essentially means your mouth is the fire which is there. And Deva Bhujaha, the gods are your various arms, and in your Sthana Yugam, your breast is Dharma Deva. Maya Vilasa Hasitam Shwasitam Samiro, comma, Jihva jalam vachanamisha shakunta panktihi. Siddhadayaha is there, put a is to join. Siddhadayas swaragana mukha randram agnihi. So put a visarga there. Mukha randram agnihi, comma. Next on the deva, there is a ir that goes away. Deva bhujaha is there, put a is to join. Deva bhujas sthanayugam tava dharma devaha. Maya vilasahasitam shwasitam samhiro jihva jalam vachanamisha shakunta panktihi siddhadaya swaragana mukarandramagnihi deva bhujastanayugam tava dharma devaha.
माया विलासहसितं श्वसितं समीरो जिह्वा जलं वचनमीश शकुन्तपङ्क्तिः सिद्धादयस्वरगण मुखरन्ध्रमग्निः देवा भुजास्तनयुगं तव धर्मदेवः माया विलासहसितं श्वसितं समीरो जिह्वा जलं वचनमीश शकुन्तपङ्क्तिः सिद्धादयस्वरगणा मुखरन्ध्रमग्निः देवा भुजास्तनयुगं तव धर्मदेवः
सहसितं स्वसितं समीरो जिह्वा जलं वचनमीश शकुन्तपङ्क्तिः सिद्धादयस्वरगणा मुखरन्ध्रमग्निः देवा भुजास्तनयुगं तव धर्मदेवः माया विलासहसितं श्वसितं समीरो जिह्वा जलं वचनमीश शकुन्तपङ्क्तिः सिद्धादयस्वरगणा मुखरन्ध्रमग्निः देवा भुजास्तव युगलं तव धर्मदेवः.
That fourth line, Stanayugam.
Sthanayugam.
We'll just quickly run through 7 today. Prishtam Twadharma Iha Deva Manaha. Put a is Manas. Sudhamshuhu. So put a visarga and comma at the end. Sudhamshuhu. Next time, if you have a Ravyaktameva, that Ra becomes a Avyaktameva. Hridayambhujam Ambujaksha. Hridayambhujam Ambujaksha. Kukshihi, put a is to join. Kukshis Samudra Nivaha Basanam tu Sandhye, comma. Shefaha is there, put a F to join the visarga. Shefaf Prajapati Rasau Brishanau cha Mitraha. Prishtham Twadharma Iha Deva Manas Sudhamshuhu Avyaktameva Hridayambhujam Ambujaksha. Kukshis Samudra Nivaha Vasanam tu Sandhye Shepha Prajapati Rasau Vrishanau cha Mitraha. Just one time is okay.
Sorry, Rajesh, one quick question. Seventh stanza explain pannilo.
I'll say it in the next class.
Okay.
I just wanted to finish this off today by 8:30. So
पृष्ठं त्वधर्म इह देव मनस्सुधांशुः अव्यक्तमेव हृदयाम्बुजम् अम्बुजाक्ष कुक्षिक् समुद्र निबहा वसनं तु सन्ध्ये शेपः प्रजापतिरसौ वृषणौ च मित्रः
one time is enough.
पृष्ठं त्वधर्म इह देव मनसस्सुधांशुः अव्यक्तमेव हृदयाम्बुजम् अम्बुजाक्षः
Ambujaksha, no visarga.
अम्बुजाक्ष कुक्षिः समुद्रनिवहवसनं तु वसन्ध्ये शेफः प्रजापतिरसौ वृषणौ च मित्रः.
Stop here today. Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurusharthatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you everyone. Next weekend
Thank you,
are the
Rajesh.
last
Thank
part
you.
of
Thank you,
Navratri.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Navratri.
Happy Navratri everyone.
Happy Navratri.